Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Life-Changing True Stories. Today, I bring you a powerful and deeply loving story. Asterisk, the crystal chandeliers sparkled like frozen tears above the crowded ballroom. Alina stood near the corner, gripping a glass of sparkling water as if it could anchor her to something solid. Tonight was supposed to be special. Her 18th birthday, the night she officially became an adult. But as she watched her father laughing with business associates, barely acknowledging her presence, Lena felt more invisible than ever. The pale pink dress she wore hung loosely on her thin frame. Her stepmother, Victoria, had chosen it deliberately. Too plain, too modest, nothing like the gorgeous gowns her stepsister Claudia always wore. Alina caught her reflection in one of the mirrors lining the walls. Her dark hair was pulled back simply, her face bare of heavy makeup. She looked like a ghost at her own celebration. Across the room, Claudia held court among a group of admirers. Her red dress clung to her curves, her blonde hair cascaded in perfect waves, and her laughter rang out like music designed to drown everyone else out. She was everything their father wanted in a daughter. Confident, beautiful, socially graceful. Everything Alina was not. The music shifted to something slower, more romantic. Couples drifted onto the dance floor. Elena's father stepped up to the microphone on the small stage. Her heart lifted slightly. Perhaps he would say something kind, something that acknowledged she mattered. "Thank you all for coming tonight," her father began, his voice booming through the sound system. "We're here to celebrate many things. New business partnerships, successful ventures, and the continued prosperity of our family name." Alina waited, her breath caught in her throat. "And yes, my daughter Alina turns 18 today. Happy birthday." That was it. 5 words. Not even her full name spoken with warmth. Just a footnote to the real purpose of the evening. The applause that followed felt like mockery. Alina forced a smile, but inside something crumbled. Victoria glided over, her perfume overwhelming. "Darling, you look so tense. Smile more. People will think you're ungrateful for this lovely party your father arranged." "I am grateful," Alina whispered. "Are you?" "Because standing in the corner looking miserable isn't exactly showing appreciation." Victoria's smile never reached her cold blue eyes. "Try to be more like Claudia. See how she lights up the room?" Before Alina could respond, Claudia appeared beside them, carrying 2 glasses of wine. "Mother, I thought Alina might want something stronger than water." "It is her birthday, after all." Alina reached for the glass hesitantly. She rarely drank, but maybe it would help calm her nerves. As her fingers closed around the stem, Claudia stumbled forward with theatrical clumsiness. The red wine splashed across Alina's chest, staining the pink dress a deep crimson. Gasps erupted around them. Alina stood frozen, the cold liquid seeping through the fabric. Claudia covered her mouth in mock horror. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. How clumsy of me." But Alina saw the truth in her stepsister's eyes. The deliberate calculation. The satisfied smirk barely hidden behind false concern. "What a disaster," Victoria sighed loudly. "Alina, you should go clean yourself up. You're making a scene." Tears burned behind Alina's eyes. Making a scene? She hadn't done anything. But as usual, she was the problem. The embarrassment. The one who didn't fit? Around them, guests whispered and stared. Some looked sympathetic, others merely curious about the drama. Her father glanced over, frowned in disapproval, then turned back to his conversation as if nothing important had happened. Something inside Alina snapped. The fragile thread holding her together finally broke. Without a word, she turned and ran. Through the ballroom doors, past the coat check, down the marble steps, and into the night. Rain and Rescue the Rain started the moment she stepped outside, as if the sky itself wanted to wash away the humiliation. Alina ran blindly, her ruined dress heavy with wine and water, her shoes slipping on wet pavement. She didn't know where she was going. Away. Just away from that house, those people. That suffocating life. Finally, her legs gave out. She found herself in a small park, collapsing onto a bench beneath a tree that offered little shelter. The tears came then, mixing with rain on her face. Great sobbing gasps that shook her whole body. 18 years of trying. 18 years of hoping that maybe, just maybe, if she was good enough, quiet enough, obedient enough, they would love her. But nothing was ever enough. She would never be enough. The sound of a car engine cut through her despair. Headlights illuminated the park, bright and intrusive. Alina tried to shrink into herself, hoping whoever it was would just drive past. The engine stopped. A car door opened and closed. Footsteps approached, slow and measured. "Are you hurt?" The voice was deep, concerned, unfamiliar. Alina looked up through blurred vision to see a man standing a few feet away. Tall, wearing an expensive suit that was getting soaked, dark hair plastered to his forehead. But what caught her attention were his eyes. Gray, intense, and looking at her with something she couldn't quite identify. Not pity, something deeper. "I'm fine," she managed to say, though clearly she wasn't. He tilted his head slightly. "You're sitting in the rain crying, wearing a dress covered in what appears to be wine." "I don't think fine is the right word." Lena wrapped her arms around herself. "Please, just leave me alone." Instead of leaving, he shrugged off his jacket and held it out to her. "At least take this. You're shivering." She stared at the jacket, then at him. Stranger danger, her mind whispered. But right now, a stranger's kindness felt safer than her family's cruelty. Slowly, she reached out and took the jacket. It was warm from his body heat and smelled like expensive cologne mixed with rain. She pulled it around her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered. He moved closer, but kept a respectful distance, leaning against a nearby tree. "Bad night?" A bitter laugh escaped her. "You could say that? Want to talk about it? Why would you care? You don't even know me." "Maybe that's exactly why," he said quietly. "Sometimes it's easier to talk to someone who has no expectations of you." Alina studied him through the rain. There was something magnetic about him, something that made her feel less alone. "It was my birthday party. My family humiliated me in front of everyone. They always do, but tonight was worse." He listened without interrupting as the words poured out of her. All the years of neglect, of being second best, of feeling invisible in her own home. When she finally stopped, emptied of words, he was quiet for a long moment. "I know what that feels like," he said finally. "Being unwanted by the people who should love you most." Something in his tone told her this wasn't just sympathy. He really did understand. "I'm Adrian," he said, extending his hand. She hesitated, then took it. His grip was warm and firm. "Alina? Alina." He said her name like it mattered. "Would you let me take you somewhere dry? There's a cafe nearby that stays open late. You can warm up, we can talk more if you want, or sit in silence. Whatever you need." Every reasonable part of her brain screamed that she shouldn't go anywhere with a stranger. But standing in the rain, feeling more alone than she'd ever felt. Reasonable seemed overrated. "Okay," she heard herself say. Adrian's car was as expensive as his suit, all leather seats and quiet luxury. He turned the heat on high and handed her a towel from the back seat. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets, Alina felt like she was moving through a dream, or maybe waking up from a nightmare. The cafe was small, warm, and nearly empty. They sat in a corner booth and Adrian ordered hot chocolate for both of them without asking what she wanted. Somehow, he'd known exactly what she needed. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Alina asked, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. Adrian met her eyes across the table. "Because I saw something in you, Alina. Something your family is too blind to see." "What could you possibly see?" "I'm nobody. Nothing. You're wrong." His voice was soft but certain. "You're someone who's been beaten down but hasn't broken. Someone who still cries, which means you still feel. Someone worth saving." Elena's breath caught. No one had ever talked to her like this. "Like she had value. I don't even know you," she whispered. "Not yet," Adrian agreed. "But you will." And somehow, sitting in that small cafe with a stranger who saw her when her own family never had, Alina felt the first tiny spark of hope she'd experienced in years. Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside, something was beginning to bloom. Alina woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, panic seized her. Where was she? Then memory flooded back. The party. The humiliation. Adrian, after the cafe, He had insisted she couldn't go home in her ruined dress, soaked and shivering. He'd brought her to what he called his guest house, though it was nicer than anywhere she'd ever stayed. A housekeeper named Rosa provided clean clothes and shown her to a bedroom that felt like stepping into a luxury hotel. Now, wearing soft cotton pajamas that Rosa had left, Elena padded downstairs. The smell of fresh coffee and baking bread drew her forward. She found Adrian in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, making breakfast. He looked different in casual clothes, more human, less like the intimidating stranger from last night. "Good morning," he said, glancing up with a slight smile. "I hope you like pancakes. It's one of the few things I can actually cook." Lena hovered in the doorway. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." He gestured to the table. "Sit, we should talk." Over breakfast, Adrian began to reveal pieces of himself. He told her about growing up in a wealthy family that valued success over everything else. His father had been cruel, his mother distant. When Adrian was 16, he dared to question his father's business practices. The result was brutal. "Threw me out," Adrian said, his jaw tight with old pain. "Told me I was worthless without the family name, that I'd come crawling back." "But you didn't," Elena guessed. "No, I built my own company from nothing. Worked terrible jobs, slept in my car some nights, but I refused to give him the satisfaction." He looked at her directly. "It took me 10 years, but now I'm worth more than he ever was. And I did it alone." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. His story echoed her own pain, the same feeling of being disposable to the people who should have cherished you. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked softly. Adrian set down his coffee cup. "Because I need you to understand something, Elena. I didn't find you by accident last night." Her heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I've seen you before. At charity events, business dinners where your family appeared. I watched how they treated you. How your father looked through you like you weren't there. How your stepmother and stepsister mocked you when they thought no one was paying attention." His eyes held hers. "But I was paying attention." Elena's breath caught. "You were watching me?" "Not in a creepy way," he said quickly. "I just recognized something. A kindred spirit, maybe? Someone else who knew what it felt like to be invisible to their own family. That's why you stopped last night. You were looking for me." "I was nearby." "Yes. I'd seen your birthday announcement. Part of me wondered if you'd finally had enough." He leaned forward. "Elena, I'm going to ask you something that will sound insane, but I need you to really consider it." Her pulse raced. "What? Marry me?" The words hung in the air between them. Elena's mind went blank, then erupted into chaos. "What? That's crazy. We just met." "Did we?" Adrian challenged. "Or have we been circling each other for months, both too broken to reach out?" "You don't know me." "Not really. I know you're stronger than you think. I know you have a kindness in you despite years of cruelty. I know you deserve better than what you've been given." He reached across the table, not quite touching her hand. "And I know I can give you a life where you're valued, where you matter." "This is insane," Elena repeated, but her voice wavered. "Maybe, but what's your alternative? Go back to that house? Let them continue destroying your spirit bit by bit." His voice gentled. "I'm offering you freedom, Elena. A partnership with someone who understands your pain. And yes, eventually, maybe something more. Why would you want to marry someone like me? I'm nobody." Adrian's expression hardened. "Stop saying that. You're only nobody because they've convinced you of it. But I see the truth." Before Elena could respond, the doorbell rang. Adrian frowned, standing. "I'm not expecting anyone." He left the kitchen. Elena heard voices, raised and angry. Her blood turned to ice as she recognized them. Her father, Victoria, Claudia. She rushed to the entryway to find Adrian blocking the door, his posture protective. "Family confrontation, where is she?" Elena's father, Richard, demanded. His face was red with anger. "You have no right to keep my daughter here." "She's an adult," Adrian replied coolly, "and she's here because she wants to be." Victoria pushed forward, her eyes sharp. "Who do you think you are? Do you know who we are?" "I know exactly who you are," Adrian said, his voice like ice. "I know Richard Bennett, the man who treats his daughter like an inconvenience. I know Victoria Bennett, who married for money and status. And I know Claudia, who delights in cruelty because she's terrified of being ordinary. Claudia gasped, genuinely shocked that someone would speak to her that way. You're Adrian Mercer, Richard said slowly, recognition dawning. The tech billionaire. I am. Alina watched the calculation cross her father's face. Suddenly, she mattered. Not because of who she was, but because of who had taken an interest in her. If this is about business, Richard started, his tone shifting to negotiation mode. It's not, Adrian cut him off. It's about Alina. And she's not going back with you. She's my daughter. Then you should have treated her like one. Adrian's words were quiet but devastating. Alina stepped forward, her heart pounding. He's right. I'm not coming home. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Don't be stupid, Alina. This man is using you. Men like him don't actually care about girls like you, girls like me. Alina felt anger rising, hot and unfamiliar. You mean girls you've spent years telling they're worthless? We gave you everything, Richard protested. You gave me nothing. The words exploded out of her. You gave me a roof and food and called it love. But you never saw me. Never cared what I wanted or needed. I was just an obligation you resented. Claudia laughed, the sound harsh. Oh, please. You're being so dramatic. We're family, no, Alina said firmly. Family doesn't humiliate each other. Family doesn't make someone feel like they're taking up space just by existing. You're not my family. You're just people I happen to be related to. The silence that followed was electric. Alina had never spoken to them like this. Never fought back. She saw the shock on their faces and something else. Fear that they were losing control. Adrian stepped beside her, his presence supportive but not dominating. Alina has made her choice. I suggest you respect it. And what is her choice exactly? Victoria asked suspiciously. Adrian looked at Alina, his eyes asking a question. She thought about going back to that cold house, that suffocating life. Then she thought about the man beside her who had seen her when no one else had, who offered her a chance at something different. Maybe it was crazy. Maybe she'd regret it. But for once in her life, she wanted to choose herself. I'm going to marry him, Alina said. The agreement after her family left in fury and threats of lawyers, Alina found herself alone with Adrian again. The adrenaline that had carried her through the confrontation drained away, leaving her shaky. Did I just do something incredibly stupid? She asked, sinking onto the couch. Adrian sat beside her, careful to maintain space between them. That depends. Do you really want to marry me? Or did you just say it to shock them? Alina considered. Both? Maybe? I don't know. This is all happening so fast. And let's slow down, Adrian said. Let's make this clear. I'm offering you a real marriage, Alina. Not a business arrangement where we pretend for cameras. I'm offering partnership, respect, and the space to become whoever you want to be. But you don't love me. Yet, he admitted. But I could. And I think you could too. We understand each other in ways most people never will. That's a foundation worth building on. Lena looked at him, really looked. She saw the loneliness he tried to hide behind confidence. The scars from his own family rejection. The genuine desire to protect her. What would this marriage look like? She asked carefully, whatever we make it. You'd live here, or we could find a place together. You could go to university, start a career, whatever you want. I won't control you or diminish you. I've built my empire. Now I want to build a life. He paused. And yes, eventually, I'd hope for real intimacy. A true partnership. But only when you're ready. Only when it's what you want to. Why me, Adrian? Really? You could have anyone. He smiled sadly. Because everyone else wants the billionaire. You're the only one who saw just a man offering a jacket in the rain. Elena felt tears threaten again, but these were different. Not tears of pain, but of possibility. I'm scared, she admitted. Good. If you weren't, I'd worry about your judgment. He finally reached out, taking her hand gently. But being scared doesn't mean being wrong. Sometimes the scariest choices are the ones that save us. Lena looked down at their joined hands. His was warm, solid, real. A lifeline in chaos. Kay, she whispered. Let's do it. Let's get married. Adrian's answering smile was like sunrise. Then let's make it official. He disappeared for a moment, returning with a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, simple but stunning. A single diamond on a platinum band, elegant and understated. "I bought this months ago," he confessed. "After seeing you at a gala, standing alone on a balcony while everyone else partied. I told myself I was crazy, but I couldn't stop thinking about you. About how I wanted to be the one who made you smile." He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Alina stared at it, at the physical symbol of the choice she was making. Her old life was over. Her new one, uncertain and terrifying and full of promise, was beginning. When she asked, "As soon as possible. Unless you want a big wedding?" Alina thought of the party last night, all those people who'd watched her humiliation. "No small, just us and whoever needs to be there legally. In 3 days. I'll arrange everything." 3 days. In 3 days, she would be Alina Mercer. A new name for a new life. As if reading her thoughts, Adrian said, "You're not losing yourself, Lena. You're finding yourself. I promise you that." She wanted to believe him. And for the first time in her life, she thought maybe she could. The morning of the wedding arrived with golden light filtering through clouds. Alina stood before a mirror in Adrian's home, now legally hers too, wearing a dress that made her feel like someone new. It was ivory silk, simple and flowing, with delicate lace at the shoulders. Nothing like the overdone gowns Claudia always favored. This was elegant, understated, beautiful. Rosa had helped with her hair, leaving it down in soft waves instead of the tight styles Victoria had always insisted on. Minimal makeup let her natural features show through. For the first time, Alina looked at her reflection and didn't see someone trying to disappear. She saw a woman making a choice. "You look lovely, dear," Rosa said, adjusting the small flower crown on Elena's head. "Like a fairy-tale princess." Elena smiled nervously. "I feel like I'm in a fairy tale. The kind where you're not sure if it'll end happily." "All the best ones have uncertain endings," Rosa replied wisely. "That's what makes them worth telling." The ceremony was held in Adrian's garden, among roses and jasmine. Only a handful of people attended. The judge who would officiate, Rosa, Adrian's lawyer Thomas, and a photographer to document the moment. No family on either side. Just two people choosing each other. When Alina walked down the makeshift aisle, Adrian's expression stole her breath. He looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Like she mattered. Like she was precious. They stood facing each other under an arch of white flowers. The judge began the ceremony, but Alina barely heard the words. She was too focused on Adrian's hands holding hers, warm and steady. "Alina," Adrian said when it was time for vows, "I promise to see you always. To value your voice. To give you space to grow into whoever you want to become. I promise that you'll never be invisible again. And I promise to love you, not despite your scars, but including them because they made you who you are."
Alina's throat tightened.
She'd written her own vows on paper, but suddenly they seemed inadequate. Instead, she spoke from her heart. "Adrian, I promise to be brave. To trust this choice we're making. To build something real with you, even though I'm terrified. You gave me hope when I had none. You saw me when I thought I was invisible. I promise to learn to love myself the way you've shown me I deserve to be loved." When the judge pronounced them married, Adrian's kiss was gentle, reverent, full of promise. And Alina felt something shift inside her. Not love yet, but the beginning of it. The seed planted that could grow into something extraordinary, building a life. Weeks following the wedding unfolded like a dream. Alina kept expecting to end, but it didn't. Every morning she woke in the beautiful bedroom she now shared with Adrian. Though he had thoughtfully suggested they sleep in separate rooms until she was comfortable with more intimacy, she'd declined. Something about his presence beside her, solid and safe, helped her sleep better than she ever had. Adrian kept his promises. He enrolled her in the university she'd always dreamed of attending, where she studied literature and psychology. He set up an office for her in his home, encouraged her to pursue her interests, listened when she talked about her classes. But more than that, he taught her about partnership. He asked her opinion on business decisions, genuinely valued her perspective. He introduced her to his friends as his wife with clear pride. He remembered small details, like how she preferred tea over coffee, that she loved old bookstores. Slowly, carefully, Intimacy grew between them. Not just physical, though that came too, tentative at first, then deepening into something Alina had never imagined. But emotional intimacy. Late-night conversations about childhood dreams and adult fears, shared laughter over terrible movies, quiet mornings reading together on the balcony. One evening, 3 months into their marriage, they were cooking dinner together. Well, Adrian was cooking while Alina attempted to help without causing disaster. She was chopping vegetables with intense concentration when she realized she was humming. "What?" she asked, noticing Adrian watching her with an odd expression. "You're happy," he said simply. Alina paused, considering. "I am. Is that strange?" "It's perfect." He came over, gently taking the knife from her before she could massacre another tomato. "Alina, I need to tell you something." Her heart jumped. "What?" "I love you." The words settled over her like warm rain. She'd been waiting for them, hoping for them, but afraid to hope too much. "I love you too," she replied, and realized it was absolutely true. Somewhere between the wedding and now, between fear and trust, she'd fallen completely. Adrian kissed her then, deep and thorough. And Alina felt the last walls around her heart finally crumble. The final confrontation for months after the wedding. An envelope arrived with familiar handwriting. Alina's father requesting a meeting. Not demanding, which was unusual. Requesting. "Do you want to see him?" Adrian asked, watching her turn the letter over in her hands. "I don't know. Part of me never wants to see any of them again. And the other part." Alina sighed. "Needs closure, I guess. Needs to know that I've really moved on." Adrian nodded. "Then I'll come with you." They met at a neutral location, an expensive restaurant where making a scene would be social suicide. Richard sat alone at a corner table, looking older than Alina remembered. "Grayer, tired, Alina," he said as they approached. His eyes flickered to Adrian with something like wariness. "Thank you for coming." They sat. Alina waited, silent, no longer feeling the need to fill uncomfortable spaces. "I owe you an apology," Richard began. "Several, actually." Alina blinked, surprised. Whatever she'd expected, it wasn't this. "Victoria left me," he continued. "Took Claudia and moved to her mother's estate in France. Apparently, once you were gone, and I was no longer useful for advancing Claudia's social standing, they had no more use for me either." Alina felt a pang of something. Not quite sympathy, but recognition of pain. "I'm sorry that happened," she said carefully. "Don't be. I deserved it." Richard met her eyes. "I deserved a lot of things. Losing you most of all. You were my daughter, my flesh and blood, and I treated you like you were nothing. Because it was easier than standing up to Victoria. Easier than choosing you over peace in my house? Why now?" Alina asked. "Why apologize now?" "Because I lost everything and realized none of it mattered. The business, the social standing, the perfect family image, all of it was empty." His voice cracked. "The only real thing I had was you, and I threw you away." Alina felt tears threaten but held them back. She'd cried enough over this man. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I don't deserve anything." Richard looked down at his hands. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm proud of you. I've followed your life through mutual acquaintances. You're studying at university, thriving. You married a good man who treats you the way I should have. You're happy. And that's more than I can say about the life I tried to force you into." Adrian squeezed Alina's hand under the table, offering support without interfering. "Thank you for the apology," Alina said finally. "I appreciate it. But I need you to understand something. I forgive you, because holding on to anger only hurts me. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean we go back to being father and daughter like nothing happened." Richard nodded slowly. "I understand. Maybe someday we can build something new. Something honest. But not now. I need to keep growing into who I'm becoming without the weight of our past pulling me back." "That's fair. More than fair." Richard stood, preparing to leave. "Be happy, Alina. That's all I want for you now." After he left, Alina sat in silence for a moment. Adrian waited patiently. "How do you feel?" he finally asked. "Lighter," Alina admitted. Sad, but lighter. Like I finally put down something heavy I've been carrying forever. Good, that's good. They left the restaurant hand in hand. Outside, the city bustled with evening life. Lights twinkled, people laughed, the world kept turning. Forever beginnings. 6 months after the wedding, Alina stood in the same garden where they'd married, but everything felt different. She wasn't a scared girl anymore, running from rejection. She was a woman who'd found her voice, her strength, her place in the world. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "How different everything is. How different I am. Better. Different. Definitely better." She turned in his arms. "I got my acceptance letter today. The graduate program in counseling. They want me to start in the fall." Adrian's smile was brilliant. "Of course they do. You're going to help so many people, Elena. Everyone who feels invisible like you did. You'll show them they matter." "We'll show them," she corrected. "You helped me see it first. We helped each other," kissed her forehead. "Ready to start the next chapter?" Alina thought about everything she'd survived. The humiliation, the rejection, the fear, and how all of it had led her here to this moment, to this man, to this life she'd built from ruins. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." That night, curled up beside Adrian, with a book in her lap and his hand in hers, Alina realized something profound. Her family had tried to make her believe she was nothing. But they'd been wrong. She wasn't nothing. She was someone learning to be everything she'd always been meant to be. The girl who ran crying into the rain was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who chose love over fear, who understood that happy endings weren't about perfect circumstances. They were about finding someone who saw you truly and choosing to see them back. Alina had found her happy ending. But more importantly, she'd found her happy beginning. And the best part was knowing that with Adrian beside her, every day would bring new chapters, new growth, new joy. She was no longer the unwanted daughter. She was Alina Mercer. Student, wife, survivor, believer in second chances. And her story was just getting started. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.